All right, so this is page number 97, okay, the golden rules of listening. Okay, are you ready to listen? Okay, it's like a talk or lectures, though there's going to be only one person. And first, we're going to listen out for question number one and two. Okay, so you have to choose the two answer. All right, so which two topics will be covered in the programs? Okay, taking notes in a lecture, taking part in a discussions, writing a letter of inquiries, okay, preparing a job application, understanding the body language, and complaining on the telephone. And they will, kind of use similar words, similar sounding words to trick you, but the real answer might sound completely different. So don't be deceived and get all the correct answers. Okay, so I'll play the audio. Let's get number one and two correctly. Okay.
Unit 12. Focus on listening 1. The Golden Rules of Listening. Section 2. You will hear a short radio talk on the skill of listening. First, look at questions 1 and 2. As you listen to the first part of the talk, answer questions 1 and 2.
And now it's time for the first in a new series called Get the Message, which looks at communication skills and how to improve them. Here's Francis Stevens to present it.
Hello. I think we'd all agree that good communication is vital, whether it's at home, at work, or in personal relationships. So what are the key communication skills, and how can we improve them? I'll be trying to answer those questions over the next 4 weeks. We'll be looking at the skill of speaking and considering how to express yourself clearly in a discussion, for example, or how to make a good impression in a job interview. We'll also be thinking about writing, including how to write an effective letter of complaint and the uses and abuses of email. And finally, we'll be examining gestures and other aspects of body language and considering the effect this has on face-to-face communication. But today, I'm going to start by focusing on the skill of listening.
Now look at questions 3 to 10.
All right, so let's move on to question number 3 to 10. Okay, how many words can you write? No more than 3 words, right? No more than 3 words for each answers. Okay, the golden rules of listening. All right, stop talking. Make a special effort to listen carefully when the situation is adjective. When the situation is adjective, and relax. Listening less effective when you are again an adjective, like when you're I don't know, just uncomfortable, something like that. The adjective, and make it clear. Speaker has your something. What? Okay. If you need something, or if you need to make something, to do something, whatever, okay, no more than 3 words, and explain what you're doing and why. Okay, try not to let the personal prejudice, prejudice, the prejudice, right? It's um like you make a judgment without actually examining the evidence. So do not let the personal prejudice influence what. Okay, listen with reason and with something else. Okay, well, listen with what? Your aim is to understand, not to verb. Okay, not to do what? Verb. And be aware of what speaker, so you need a verb. Okay, so now let's listen out for it. I'll play the audio soon.
As the talk continues, answer questions 3 to 10.
Now, listening is a far more sophisticated skill than most people realise. And poor listening is a very common cause of breakdowns in communication. So you need to be aware of a few rules. The first golden rule of listening is to stop talking, because you can't listen carefully if you keep interrupting. This is especially important when the situation is familiar, when you're talking to a relative or friend, say. In situations like that, it's all too easy to assume you know what the person means and start working out your reply instead of paying attention to what they're really saying. Next, try to relax. Research has shown that it's much more difficult to listen effectively if you're feeling at all tense and anxious. So if you've been dealing with a tricky problem at work, for example, and you feel the tension building up, take a deep breath before you answer the telephone. Let your brain adjust first. You also need to make the speaker feel relaxed. And the way to do that is to show them they have your full attention. Try to look interested in what they're saying. Don't look over their shoulder or start scribbling on a piece of paper. Of course, there may be reasons why you want to make notes. In this case, tell the speaker in advance and explain the reason. Say the notes are to help you remember exactly what they said. Blame your poor memory if you like. This is important because we often use facial expression to tell us how the conversation is going. Next, be aware of any prejudices you have, personal, political, whatever, and make a conscious effort not to let these views affect your judgment. You may not see things in exactly the same way as the other person, but that shouldn't stop you from trying to understand their point of view. It's important to realize that listening is an active process. To listen effectively, you need to use not only reason, but also feeling. That means trying to identify with the other person and putting yourself in their position. After all, the point of listening is to understand the other person's point of view, not to win an argument. If you can empathize with the speaker, you're much less likely to jump to the wrong conclusion. And one final point. Remember to listen for what the speaker is not saying. That sounds strange, I know, but very often what's missing from a conversation is at least as important as what's there. Now, to discuss some of these points, I've got with me in the studio Brian Morgan, who's a psychologist, and Tessa Wade, who works as a marriage guidance counsellor.
That is the end of the section. You now have half a minute to check your answers.